Alright, we're back out here at the Hutchinson house. This is now the third week of flowering, and I'm happy to say that there are flowers on every row. We come over here to row 1. You can see we've got plant flowering here and here. And I think I saw one more down over here. And over here on row 2, everything that wasn't a transplant is blooming. Except for possibly one of these over here. Let me verify real quick. That one is not blooming. And over here on row 3, it's the same thing. Everything that is not a transplant is blooming. That's blooming, those are blooming. And over on row 4, we've got a couple of plants blooming. However, not a lot of blooms on this row. This plant is blooming. That's blooming. There's one more flower over here somewhere, and there's a couple of bowls over here. So far, row 4 has the lowest productivity. Well, they're at least later. They have maybe the majority of them have one bowl and one flower, and that's it on there. And I have a couple of plants over here that have between 12 and 15 bowls on them. Let me go check the data sheet real quick. Okay, yeah, so I was right. Everything that is not a transplant on row 2 and 3 is blooming, and none of the transplants are yet blooming. And on rows 1 and 4, the productivity is lower than 2 and 3, as to be expected, because they're on a later time schedule and they weren't fertilized. And so far, the only issues I've seen is on this plant, 212. It has shed a couple of bowls, which is a bit concerning because it shed 3 in total, but only low and on this side, so I'm not entirely sure what this is all about, but it shed these bowls very early. And I had one bowl that just had a hole through it, and I don't know what that was about. But for the most part, everything is looking good. I have a couple of standout plants. This plant in particular on row 4 is doing outstanding for where it is. It's 34 inches tall, so it's taller than half of the plants on rows 2 and 3, and it was unfertilized and irrigated the least. And it's taller than some of the irrigated plants on the fertilized rows, so that's encouraging. It's right about the same size as those larger ones over there. They're about 3 inches taller. That's 34, and I think our largest is that one at 37 3/4, and that's 37 1/2. And I know that's over 36, and that's over 36. I believe that one, and maybe that one. That one might not be. The flowers are coming along nicely. I thought these would open more, but it turns out they don't. This is as far as they open. I came out here in the middle of the day and it looked exactly the same. So that's a good sign, because from what I can tell about actual Sea Island cotton, the flowers didn't open very far. Whereas in perennial long staple cotton from the tropics, the flower tended to open a lot wider, like a hibiscus. But this is more like upland cotton. So it is encouraging for the genetic integrity. We shall see about the lint, though. So that's basically it. The transplants are doing pretty good. The ones on row 3 are doing the best. The ones over there on row 4 are not doing very well. That one died. Something came in and ate those two. I think it might have been a rabbit. Just came in and nipped the top off of both of them, and it resulted in the death of that one. What over here? Yep, 3 died. And over here, this one that I said looked wilty also died. So we now have at least one hole in every row. 1-9 died. That was not a transplant. And let's see over here, 4-3, that was a transplant, died. 3-1 died. I never filled in 3-13. And I have 2-7 over there dead. So I have 2 voids on 3, 1 on 4, 1 on 2, 1 on 1. One other thing I forgot to mention real quick is I believe I'm going to stop weeding, at least with any regularity I'm going to stop weeding the cotton, and I have stopped irrigating the cotton. They've reached the size now where they should have their taproot fully developed and they will no longer need irrigation. And they have reached the size where they can essentially weed themselves. They produce enough of a shadow that they can outcompete any sort of weed growth underneath them, unless something, you know, really noxious gets in there. I'm probably not going to do anything. I will probably have to come over here and thin these edges, and I should just be able to do that with a weed eater since they're large enough. But that's one other thing that's changing in the procedure at the moment. Everything's looking really good, and I'm quite excited. I hope to see open bowls by the first week of September, but realistically it'll probably be the second week of September. Currently it is the last week in July, sort of half first week of August. So we've got 5 weeks, 6 weeks? 6 weeks ahead of us until I see bulls. It takes them 50 days to mature, and that's probably the farthest along one I have. I think there's one other really fecund fruiting branch over here I want to show you. If I can locate it. Well, I couldn't find the one I was looking for, but I did find this other large one. These are about the maturest looking ones we have. I believe they mature rather rapidly. They reach full size in a couple of weeks, so these are about 3 weeks old. And then after that, it just sort of matures in there. It's sort of like pregnancy. The baby grows really fast and then it develops for the last trimester. But it's not a baby. It's fluffy white stuff. So, I'll see you next time something cool happens. Tom out.